Hello all, thank you so much for coming. Okay, tip it up. Okay, I'm gonna have some water. I don't know how Sarah did that without any water.
Can't hear you.
I'm coming back, don't worry, I'll give the whole reading like this. Wow, Sarah, thank you so much. It's so amazing to be in this community and kind of see people and hear of people, and then I finally got to be with you and your work, and it was really incredible. Thank you so much. And I, too, am so grateful to Phil and Marcia, who are incredible poets in their own right, and then just these people that serve, right, with such depth and care, and dear friends. And Jackson, I don't remember when I read here. I read here, I think, before Night Radio came out, a little, like, shortly before it came out, and the book is quite dark, and I will never forget that reading, because I was reading poems, and I had just written a bunch of new poems, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to read the new ones, and they were all so dark, and there was a woman up front who's whispered to her caregiver, wow, this is really dark stuff, like right in the middle of the reading, and I was like, but I have since learned, the new poems aren't necessarily the best poems all to read at the same time, right? Just because they're new. But it got me thinking about Jackson, and he also was a great support, and to me personally, and to so many of us, and so I'm really thinking of him tonight. And thank you all for coming. So I'm going to read poems from this new collection I'm working on called Tigers, and I started this. My daughter is going to be 8 years old in August, and so I started writing this book shortly after she was born. The first couple years in my mom haze, which I'm still in. I just had a baby. I have a little boy who's now 10 months old. But so, seeing her, the books began with this recognition of this wildness, in children, and then being in this horrible position that I found myself in of trying to get her to behave, it was awful, and so it brought up my own adolescence and wildness in general, and then the work has kind of evolved into some of these ideas of. We were talking at dinner about having your beliefs ripped away from you, and that groundlessness of being in this space of, things constantly in flux, right? When you get down to the essence, the mystery that we're all living within, the mystery of where we came from and where we're going. And so all of that's in this work somehow. Okay, I'm going to read this first poem called The Felons. And then I have some new stuff, and it is some of the material is still difficult and mature, so just keep that in mind. Dark, slightly dark. The Felons. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us to shove an arm into the mouth of a Rottweiler if attacked from the side. They teach us that if you've killed a man, you make amends by raising your grandchildren, that the kids will play in a small fenced yard, that you button the thin child's shirt until he can do it for himself. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us not to reach over a man's plate for a salt shaker. We call the one with new white teeth Beaver. We call the felons who speak at 12-step meetings names like Pegleg Steve and Bloodbath Bob. We are 20-year-old girls sitting in a line on metal chairs. We are always lighting cigarettes. We are girls who have spent the summer pulling cold trays of French fries from the trash to eat. Girls who travel by Greyhound. We steal hair dye. You wouldn't believe what has happened to us. At the 12-step meetings, the felons teach us to aim like we're hunting wild javelina. They teach us how to instantly pull arrows from our quiver, that recovery is muscle memory, that relapse is a hoofed mammal chittering in the shadows. The felons say, if you hang around the barber shop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings feast on salmon roe, octopus, daikon radish, kimchi, fennel spare ribs, beef bourguignon, tabbouleh, crab cakes, and chicken satay. They hammer together coops for rabbits and tortoises before their bodies begin to grow quiet. As the years pass, the felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings learn to hold our new babies lightly. They teach us that even violent men eventually grow small in hospital beds. They ask for honey ice cream to be spooned onto their dry tongues. When we throw open their curtains and our thick heels click across the room, they ask us to slow down a little bit, will ya? The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us that the urges may never go away, and that there is no love without acceptance. Eventually, they lose hair and they lose children. They lose toolboxes and tax statements, 401ks, and regular erections. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us that a man's strength must move inward, that he will look off into the corner of the room, that he will surrender even his body. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings die quietly while Foxes flickers on the TV. They teach us how the morphine dream pulls you by an umbilical cord through deep space. They speak their mother's names, the felons do. A young Jodie Foster chases her life while the felons unzip themselves from this great longing. And this next one is called Tramps, and it's numbered. 1. In the original watercolor, the woman is crowning, her full bare chest, breasts, nipples, all of it, birthing herself into what I imagine as complete silence. A deep snow has fallen, dead, cold. Something about that quiet, something I haven't known. 2. It was 1996. I shaved my head one last time before moving back in with my parents, back to LA. I have one of those miniature tape recorder cassettes. You can hear the rain. You can hear me chain smoking. I'm getting clean and sober, I say into the voice-activated speaker. 3. It was the night of the Tyson fight. The shop was on Ventura Boulevard. Not my first tattoo, but my first time alone in the world, without drugs or friends. Tyson bit Holyfield's ear that night. I bent over the chair and watched the screen. What else could he do? 4. I guess that's how history is made. Some regular night, the huge boxer finally using his teeth. 5. This is what I see when I remember getting loaded. A long knitted scarf, a Greyhound station, a guy named Matt, my neck blue with hickeys, a dealer I never wanted to fuck, John and Prox, shitting my pants, the cans of spray paint, H saw fish and chips, we broke the window, I changed the flat tire in a green velvet mini dress, the day I was supposed to decorate the Christmas tree, passed out until 2, the piss and puke, the smell of wet grass. 6. It wouldn't be for another 10 years that I would understand an entire generation of women tuck sterilized paper into the back of their jeans and marked the same spot on their bodies. 7. Maybe it's true. A tramp. 8. Jimmy Piano spray painted Kim Zaho on the front of our middle school. He showed up on Facebook 20 years later, a convict, Say white is right, he demanded after he felt me up in the cul-de-sac. And when I wouldn't, I drove up in Joanna's mom's convertible Mustang, and there it was for the entire school to see. 9. When I was attending faculty Christmas parties with my new older husband, the full-time women used to wink and say, "You're so young. I bet the fellas think it's sexy." 10. My daughter lifts my sweatshirt when I'm drawing her bath so she can look at it. It's the one tattoo I try to hide. 11. I was being reborn that night at Think Inc. I carried around coffee and talked into my tape recorder. Everything changed. I learned how to work and how to write papers for English class. I learned how to sink into a life. 12. When I think of the image, the woman coming out of the snow, the bare trees, the little shop in Humboldt where I bought the card, I was following the rain or the soft bark in the forest, some belief that the world could be like a nest of blankets. 13. The truth is that my shaved head was never cute. My face was lost. You couldn't see me anymore. I was back in the yard smoking cigarettes, listening to my parents. 14. I never felt innocent. 15. But beautiful, just in a body. The one place that's mine, this body, I know, not soft, I'm never soft. 16, it is made and it stays. Her hair is lighter than mine, and I can't quite see her, but I know she's there, looking up. And this is a new one. I was showing my friend Shauna, I started off with these prose poems, like this, right? And now they're like getting, I guess I'm just writing prose at some point, right? But this is sort of a new one. And it's called Body Oracle. Maybe it's not so bad to be promiscuous, my mom says over Indian food that day we had lunch, now that she's 70 and her body has created phantom pain. It's just a theory, really, this phantom pain, and I have a lot of theories. Here are the observable facts. She complained for years of headaches, gets carsick on the way to the beach, had to have neck surgery at a little hospital in Ventura, a hospital that seems small, quaint even, too simple to be making long incisions on a body, on a neck. Lately, she says her feet are on fire, feels like she's being poked. She's cold all the time and angry and sometimes erratic, but so beautiful still at 70, maybe more beautiful than ever, like in a sweater at the beach. She worked her body, my mom did, at a desk. Sitting is the new smoking, they say, and she worked late into the night after one of the 2 teenage daughters she cherished, my sister, was kidnapped and raped. Her baby, the shy girl with freckles and dark hair, the cute one. My mother's father, too, had chronic pain, but I bet the booze kept it away. He was a plumber and the nicer of the 2 parents, children of immigrants, somewhere in an apartment with piss pots and unfinished drywall. I never met him, though, my grandfather. He was gone before I could know him, like when my mom fell down the steep slate steps carrying a box of craft supplies while I followed behind, holding my daughter, who was only 2 at the time. My girl was in my arms, and my mom lost her footing and turned and tried to recover and kept falling. Every step, the fall kept going. I couldn't reach her, and more pain after that. A foot fracture, unnoticed for years, and more pain. And sometimes my mom comes to me so tired, so worn out. I see little notes she leaves around the house, notes that mention phantom pain, or maybe that was the brain book she lent me that talked about how a person can get a limb amputated but can still experience pain in a limb that's gone, phantom pain. And some doctor uses a mirror box to trick the brain into thinking the arm is still there and the pain is resolving. I don't know if what my mom lost can ever be reflected back so she can work out the ruptures. the Irishman drunk on a couch, the remote mother. Then my mother made this house. She cleaned it and ordered new matching furniture and drapes. She took my sister and me to Bullock's for new school clothes and read to us in our unicorn rooms. Then this man in a white truck used a small firearm and pointed it at my sister, followed her home from the movies and ordered her to get in the car. Then he raped her. When I went to the talk given by the safety lady, she promised me that most sexual assault happens by someone the family knows. Maybe sitting at that desk in her city government job was really like smoking a couple packs a day. But maybe when your youngest child gets taken off your white suburban street by someone you can't imagine, with or without your husband, serving for decades on the LAPD, maybe you live with pain, maybe phantom pain. The theory goes that we can trust the body more than the brain, the loops, the monkey mind, the intrusions, always tracking, ruminating, scanning the perimeter. It's time, it's time. The neuroscientists say that the body makes meaning out of what happens in the brain, makes the electricity of the mind tangible. Maybe the body is the oracle. Always I yearned for touch, for sensation. Place your hand on the deck of tarot. My mom over Indian food says, "What's so wrong with that?" I couldn't wait for it. I couldn't wait to light up this body of mine. I was a little girl. I humped my friends in bedrooms and then jumped in pools all summer, and we timed who could hold her breath for the longest. I wanted the kids in my junior high to rip my front snap dress open and wash my thighs. Nothing's wrong, of course, except I didn't know how to ask, and usually I drank gulps of my dad's whiskey before I called the party line where the man we called Chris the prostitute jacked off to the two of us giggling in my room with MTV on mute. The firecrackers, I couldn't wait to go deeper. I was witchy and wore crystals and tie-dyed shirts from the local store called Aardvark's Odd Ark. There was an entire rack of tie-dyed shirts, different colors, and I could have been any girl, a line of us. My shirt was blue, and my boyfriend played 7 seconds over the phone for me at 10 p.m. on a weeknight, and we were filling up the dark sexual space between us with punk rock. I wasn't in control, I don't think, only because I wanted it, but didn't know how to wrestle it away from all the fantasy BJs. So many reasons I ended up that way. Phantom pleasure, maybe. My mom only ever having sex with my father, I call him father when I write of him in sex, and so many years of not using her body, which I keep mistyping as bossy, except to power walk with her shoulder pads down a carpeted hallway. At 7, my daughter can tell boobies contain a juicy power. She jiggles mine and watches them bounce, and in line I see her studying the billboards and the summer girls and cutoffs. I want to ask her, are you going to accept the call collect when the body becomes some rough boyfriend serving time in the penitentiary? Oh, but the body is brighter and reminds me of my own animal light, the way I loved when the boy down the street would tuck his hands in my sleeves and slowly pull fighters from my chest plate until he got to my heart. All right. I have a few more. They're so long. This one's called Civilian. My dad has come to pick up his black bag that carries a small permitted firearm. I've put it up high in the closet next to the 2 Christmas dolls I've already purchased for my daughter. One white doll in a blue pea coat, and one black doll in a woolen wraparound scarf. I know my dad has engaged the safety, something he first learned to do as a cop, and I know there's a holster, but the bag is heavy and anything can happen. I don't look inside the bag. I don't ever look. My dad asks me about the diversity group I belong to and about our meetings where we talk about race and privilege. He tells me of the black woman in Texas who was stopped by the cops. He tells me the officer's body cams didn't record any racial slurs. He tells me about his ex-partner, now a police chief in Texas, who didn't ignore the black man who was murdered, whose body was dragged from the back of a pickup truck. The chief did the right thing, my dad says, and called the FBI. Sometimes I imagine that I'm holding a pistol and my dad yells, "Now." He yells and I shoot the gun in order to stop something that's coming toward me. Once, when we were riding home in his old truck, a man stumbled out into the middle of the street. "Don't hurt me," said the man, really just a kid, and my dad slowed his vehicle. I remember the windows were down and how confused I was. I didn't know yet what to be frightened of. Now my dad's arms are turning purple the way an old white man's arms do. He's still big, my dad, and when he fell off the ladder that year, I bet he fell hard. He seems so fucking pissed off when I tell him about the article in The Atlantic, the black family in the age of mass incarceration. What do they call us? We who don't use our hands to force things? Civilians? My dad's looking at me like I'm a civilian. He's looking at me like I have no idea of the kind of violence he faced each day as a cop, like I slow and watch a blooming brush fire on the side of the road. I want to tell him that I've cleaned a grown woman's shit, his mother's, that I've turned her body to the side and wiped it all down, that I wore latex gloves, that I could handle the smell. I want to tell him that I threw the neighbor girl against the side of the stucco house. We were just kids, but inside me is some drive that understands how a man might twist hard a body that resists. In this morning light, though, the skin on my dad's face, his shave, the little bit of slack in his cheeks, I know why he's angry. But he's got the small permitted firearm back, and he'll drive it home now. My daughter's still at school where the children growl and trade tools and pour their own water. I hug his shoulders and he tries to smile. I don't have to imagine my dad holding his pistol or crying. I know my dad can't stop whatever stumbles in front of us. Some white kid on PCP, say, on Roscoe Street in the middle of a weekday. "Don't hurt me," the kid said. And I didn't know who was going to be hurt. The whacked out boy in his blue jeans, or the big man driving the truck, the one who could crush him so easily. I'm going to read two more. And this one's called Sunyata. I think it's all in the poem. Everything you need to know about Sunyata, yeah. It's 5 a.m. There's a flash outside the bathroom window. You can see Sunyata, the teacher says, if you look with your Buddha eyes. I open the window. It's lightning. Last week, the hills were on fire. You come in the room, sick, your body is hot. The lightning flashes. The Heart Sutra says, whatever is form is emptiness, and whatever is emptiness is form. You will eat clementines and a half a piece of toast for breakfast. I'll try to brush your hair gently. My Buddha eyes see only form, only phenomenon. The light fills the room. Your lips, a little red, and my husband's cologne that smells of incense. He stuffs an energy bar into an old leather bag. He'll text me when he arrives safely to work. The teachers say all phenomenon weaves together to make up one thing. To explain this, the teacher uses the metaphor of a flower containing the sun, the soil, and the rain. Deep inside my pelvis, cells are dividing and organizing into what will hopefully become a baby. The website tells me that the outer layers of cells will make up the ectoderm, the skin and hair. The middle layer, the mesoderm, will become the heart and circulatory system, and the inner layer, the endoderm, will house the lungs and internal organs. The cells are both structure and form and emptiness. I've spent an entire life filling up this self. my hulking and my overalls, the degrees and the arrogance and a living trust and grapefruit face wash and the special way I like my eggs cooked, and I wanted to see the whales in third grade, and this aversion to sentimentality. The cells keep exploding. The act of division is making a life. I don't want to die. The lightning wakes me. I go to the window. I look and look. I love the world, I say. I love the lightning and the birds crossing the intersection in one synchronized movement. I love my daughter's body that has grown so big that when I hold her, her legs hang to my ankles. But the teachers say it's a kaleidoscope, a flash. The room illuminates. I see it for a second. Outside, the lightning looks solid, like it can pierce the earth, like it can crack open all these houses, the water dripping down a chute, someone's laundry blowing hot steam into the air, people brushing their teeth before work. You crawl into bed. I pull up the covers. I can smell your hair. The teachers say breath is a bridge to the formless. Your breath is warm. I sink mine to yours. The space between the lightning grows. Everything right here. I think I should have said that was the you in the poem is my daughter. That was for her. I mean, the whole book is for her, really. And this last poem is dedicated to her, and it's called Tigers. When the tigers come, you might drive, inhaling hits of smoke from the mouths of homeless men, pulling long moo-moos from garbage cans, rolling your own cigarettes from tobacco tins. When the tigers come, you might crush all your Simon and Garfunkel albums and stop taking showers. You might throw away your fun girl who used to sing at dinner. When the tigers come, you might run naked, believing that if you've rid yourself of every last remnant, they'll have nothing to take from you. Once the tigers have come, everything will begin to look like tiger. The classroom, your dope, the small way you believe you can go to Reed College, your love of whales, the total. I want to tell you that when the tigers come, meet tiger with tiger. I want to tell you to learn the tiger growl, the tiger smell. I want to teach you to stalk like a tiger. I want to make a tiger mask for the back of your head so the tigers won't attack from behind. I want to tell you that the tigers will become gentle, but the tigers aren't gentle. You can only open your tiny broken life. You can crack open the back door when the rain starts. You can come down into the wild fennel, into this long stretch of time, these days like little pieces, the smell of sage, the way the wind moves through anyone's hair. When the tigers come, you can only meet them as you meet every single morning. You start so early. You look like tiger looks, eyes fixed on each moment. And you've always called me back here to the sound of your own singing, your hand pulling me into the yard, back from all the ways I teach you to run from tiger. But tiger is right here, all along, with tiger breath, tiger whiskers, and up close the sound is not a growl. The sound is all animal, and tiger can sense us, and you're ready. I can see that now. You always have been. Thank you.